Konnichiwa.
It's history in the making, and we want you to be part of it.
That's a given. You guys have run a tight ship here. Oh my gosh.
The rock star sitting here.
I can't even describe it.
Talking about actual business.
Two beings at the top of their professions. Lightning quick movements.
The rock star sitting here. It's just started.
Welcome back to the Real Value Podcast, the podcast about creating as much value as you can with the short time we have. Good morning, my friends. My name is Blaine, founder of the Coaching Academy, chief evangelist at True Footage, host of the Playing Big podcast, and your host for this and every single episode of the always sponsor-free Real Value Podcast. Hoping the sound of my voice finds you happy, healthy, prosperous, and profitable, my friends. We've done it. Friends, we've made it another year. And as we look back over 2022, we likely all have many things to be thankful for. We have our health, our families, our businesses, all of the experiences we've had this past year, the increase in our wealth from yet another year of amazing growth in the lending side of the business, even if it did start to tank a bit toward the end of the year. Now, if you've been following my advice in these podcasts and our coaching program, well, you've been filling up your survival accounts, you've been paying off debt, you've been investing in other streams of income, and your net worth has increased as a result of all those activities. Now, as we record this episode, literally on December 31st, 2022, the last day of this year, if none of those things happen for you, well, we should probably talk. Our next black belt coaching teams are forming. We're going to kick off all those near the end of January, so you still have time to jump in and get some of the best business and personal coaching available in any industry in the world, in my mom's opinion. Nevertheless, here we are at the end of 2022. The end of a year, as you well know, is the perfect time to do what I call recap and realign. It's R&R. Some people think it's rest and relaxation. No, it's recap and realign. We sit and we write out all the things that went right, what didn't go so right, didn't go as planned, what some of the Easter eggs, we'll call them, might have been, some of the good stuff, some of the unexpected but awesome stuff, some of the not so awesome stuff, maybe what I could have done better. And then I go into goal and vision setting for the next year. What habits need to change or to be added? Where do I want to be in 90, 180, and 360 days from now? And what I think my world can look like by this time next year. It's a contemplative process. We talk about it all the time. If you're not doing it, start. Because when you start this process and you get several years of it consistently under your belt, it's a very cool process because you sit and you ponder where you were at this time last year and where you are now. Every year, I always remember where I was when I was doing the recap and realign process, when I was like what I was thinking and feeling, what I wanted to accomplish, and so on. Then, of course, quite often I just look back at my goal setting sheet and I can see, oh yeah, here's what I wrote down. Sometimes I'm at a coffee shop. Some years I'm at my favorite breakfast joint. Some years I'm right here at my writing desk, pondering and planning, recapping, realigning. Now, of course, everything is written down as well. How many times do I have to say it? If you're not writing it down, it's not going to happen. So I write it all down so that I can easily look back and see what I was thinking and feeling, as well as what all my goals were for the year. So I get to check off the ones I achieved. I get to check off or circle the ones that I didn't, the reasons I may not have achieved something, the habits that I changed or created, and of course, the ones I didn't. And as I do every year, I'm going to strongly encourage you to adopt a contemplative process. That's where you contemplate things. And you need to have some kind of recap and realign process like this so that you can recap your year and then realign with what you're going to do going into the new year. Forget New Year's resolutions. We've talked before. I look back to last year's last episode or something like that, maybe the year before that. I talk all the time, and I've talked about the stats about New Year's resolutions. It's ridiculous. By February something, 88% or 68%, some ridiculous percentage of people have already broken their New Year's resolutions. And by mid-March, it's some ridiculous number, like almost 90% of people have given up. Why? Because no habits have changed. People haven't sat down and recapped and realigned. They just go, next year is going to be the year that I do blank. And then by January, they've broken that, or February. You have to be contemplative about what you want to do with your life. Remember, you are creating a legacy whether you know it or not. The question is whether you're doing it intentionally and deliberately. Now is the time to create your legacy intentionally and deliberately, and you do that by first thinking about how you want to be remembered in the world, what you want to accomplish before you die, and then how you're going to do that. Now, with all of that said, let's get into the 10 questions that I think you should be pondering as we close out 2022 and we open 2023. Episode 38, this is episode 40. Episode 38 was on some of the things I think appraisers should be doing in the coming year to have a more prosperous year, more prosperous than the previous one. Now, I know some of you are going to say, well, that's going to be really hard to do, Blaine, based on the interest rate market and the lending industry and all these other things. But you can have a more prosperous year than the previous one. I know I'm going to, because I just recapped and realigned, and I know what it's going to look like. So some of these questions will have a little crossover with episode 38. Go back and listen to that one, but I will ask them in a little different way. So here goes. First question for you. How much did you delegate last year? How many of the things that you probably shouldn't be doing did you hand off to somebody else, whether that was a virtual assistant, a personal assistant, your husband, your wife, your sister, brother-in-law, cousin, mother, or neighbor? If you are still the one doing all the paperwork and the $10 per hour stuff, you are the assistant. Now, I'll throw in question 6 here. We're only on question 1, but it's tied into question 6 based on what I just said. Do you know what your dollars per hour look like? If you're still doing all that $10 per hour stuff, my guess is that you don't know what your dollars per hour look like. Because if you were conscious of your dollars per hour, you would know just how much of that stuff drags down your dollars per hour and it sucks up your profitability, not to mention your valuable time. How much did you delegate and how much should you delegate in 2023? What's that stuff that you need to get off of your desk and out of your day? Question 2, how will you specialize in 2023? I talked about this in episode 38 and 39 because I think it is absolutely vital to differentiate yourself from the vast sea of competitors all doing the same thing. I know in your mind you think you are the greatest, but if you aren't specializing in some way, you're just another vendor offering the same thing to the same people, and your only value proposition is a boring 30 to 50 page document with some addresses, some pluses and minuses, and some opinions. The people who get paid the most for their opinions in any industry are the specialists. Look into any field in any industry and you will find that the specialists are in demand and paid the highest, not only for their work, but for their opinions as well. So how will you specialize in 2023? Question 3, how much risk are you willing to take on in the coming year? Now, if you did the same thing last year as you did the year prior and the year before that and so on, you took on no risk. The rewards you receive in life and business are in direct proportion to the risks that you're willing to take on. It's always been that way. Specializing is a risk. Investing in people is a risk. Delegating is a risk. Handing off things you think you're really good at but probably shouldn't be doing is a risk. Not knowing your numbers is a risk. Walking into a new bank or credit union and talking to a human being is a risk. Holding a class for realtors, for lenders, or anybody else in your market is a risk. Investing in real estate is a risk. Telling somebody you love them is a risk. Sharing your feelings and making yourself vulnerable is a risk. Starting to work out and get healthy is a risk. How much risk are you willing to take on in the coming year? And in what areas will you be doing that? Question 4, are you running a business or just a hobby? Now, this is a serious question, friends. I know that most of you will say that you are running a business. However, if you don't know your numbers, gosh, how many times do we talk about this? You got to know your numbers. If you don't do at least a quarterly P&L, that's profit and loss, well, then you don't know how much P is in your L. If you don't do a quarterly, I recommend monthly, but if you're not at least doing a quarterly, if some of you just wait till the end of the year around tax time, you don't know your numbers. If you don't set goals and have KPIs, those are key performance indicators, metrics, levers to pull within your business, you don't know. If you're still doing all the $10 per hour stuff, I am sorry to tell you, my friends, that you are playing at business. And when you play at something, you are doing a hobby. Stop treating your business like a hobby and see what happens in 2023. So many appraisers, realtors, even lenders playing at what they call their business. Stop it. Stop treating it like a hobby. Treat it like a business, and it will treat you like you're the business owner. Are you truly running a business? And if so, what are the things you're doing that distinguish it from your hobbies? And please don't say, oh, because I make money at it, Blaine. There are many of us that make money at our hobbies, but still recognize that they're hobbies and not businesses. There are also many of us that took our hobbies and turned them into businesses by doing all the things I mentioned earlier. I've said many times, I took my hobby of martial arts, the martial art of Aikido, and I turned it into a very profitable business by looking at it differently and treating it like a business. Are you running a business or a hobby? Question 5. Are you playing the long game or a short game? What's the long game? The long game is relationship building. It's consistent prospecting for new and better clients. It's becoming the authority in your market. It's doing all the little things that don't put dollars in your pocket today because they're putting bigger dollars in your pocket down the road. Are you specializing and becoming known in your market for something different than what everyone else is doing? Are you investing in your people, even when there's no immediate payoff? The long game is investing in your clients to make them better tomorrow than they are today. This is a big one. This is something nobody does. We do it. I'll teach you how to do it. It's one of the big long game plays, by the way, but nobody else is doing it. Are you looking at where the industry is trending and making the necessary pivots to take advantage? That's playing the long game. Playing the short game is just grinding it out, head down, taking whatever comes your way, not planning, not investing, not growing, and thinking you're somehow getting ahead. Remember, sometimes you can be losing so slowly that you think you're winning. And in fact, the last 10 years in the appraisal business has highlighted this point. So many appraisers, so many realtors, so many lenders, and a bunch of other related industries just took advantage of the low interest rates and the booming real estate markets to make money hand over fist. Now, by the way, nothing wrong with that. But they did nothing to invest in themselves, their businesses, their clients, and recession-proof themselves for the time when it would inevitably change. That's an example of losing so slowly that you actually think you're winning. Now everybody wakes up today and they look around and they go, oh yeah, probably should have done that stuff, but I laughed. I laughed at everyone who was telling me it ain't going to last forever. Better put some money in your survival account. Better be building for the future because this money tree eventually is going to die. They laughed, but they're not laughing now because they weren't playing the long game. Ask yourself, am I playing the long game or a short game? Question 6. I asked it in question 1, but it's so important that I'm going to ask it again with this one. Do you know your dollars per hour? And if so, what are they? Friends, I did not say, what is it? As in, what is your singular dollars per hour? I ask this question all the time, and quite often the answers I get are, oh, Blaine, I typically average about $120 per hour. Wrong. I said they. What are your dollars per hour? What I mean when I ask this question is, do you know what each and every task and activity that you do or what you could be doing and what you should be doing is valued at? Do you know what data entry is valued at from a dollars per hour standpoint? What is an appraisal site visit? The inspection, we call it. What is that worth per hour? What is the analysis portion worth? What is a 2-hour meeting with a room full of realtors worth? What is prospecting worth? What is time off worth? If you don't know these numbers, you will make the mistake of thinking that all dollars and all hours are created equal. My friends, they are not. If you think every hour is worth the same as the last hour, well, then you will never optimize your days, your weeks, and your months for the highest dollar per hour activities. If you think every hour is the same as the last hour, you'll never know what your $1,000 and your $10,000 per hour activities look like. If you don't know about or what a $50,000 hour looks like, well, then you'll never schedule one. You'll never make time for one. You just won't see it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, by the way, I will include the link to the $50,000 per hour podcast that I did sometime last year. You've simply got to know what the value of each hour looks like and what it could look like. That is how you leverage and level yourself up in life and business. Once you recognize what activities are worth more than other activities, you will never want to do the low dollar activities again, and you will start to grasp the value of delegation, handing off that stuff to somebody else. Question 7, how did you do with your savings and your investing last year? And how will you do in that area in 2023? By the way, I will say, if you weren't saving and investing last year and the year before that and the year before that, thinking that you're going to be able to do it better in the future is a tough sell, because we are coming out of probably the best 10 or 12 years for many of us in history. The real estate, the appraisal business, the lending side of things, if you weren't able to set aside 20, 30% of your income, it's going to be tough going forward. You can still do it. It just takes a change in thinking. Your perspective has to change. But still, the question remains, how did you do with your saving and your investing last year, and how will you do in that area in 2023? Did your net worth increase or decrease? Be brutally honest with yourself. This is not for me. This is for you. It's your money and your wealth. You don't have to email me and say, here's the answer, Blaine. No. But I ask you the question to ask of yourself. Did you save 5% of your income? Did you save 10, 20? Did you save 0%? Did you pay down any debt? If this is an area you need to work on, well, then make 2023 the year that you do it. Remember, recap, realign. Now's the time to do that. And if you need some guidance and some accountability, then you need to get a coach or be a part of a mastermind. Of course, you can join ours. It's not a pitch to join ours, but this is one of the questions I'm going to ask you. You can join Dustin's. You can join one locally in your market. Either way, if you're not being coached, well, then your ego is getting the best of you, and you simply aren't becoming who you could become. Argue with me all you want and stay mediocre. It doesn't matter to me. I have 4 different personal coaches for different areas of my life and business, and at least 15 other indirect coaches through mastermind groups that I'm involved with and have been for 20, almost 30 years. And I can't even imagine not having a coach at this stage in my life and business, especially when it comes to my saving and investing. If you want to increase your wealth, hire somebody who can help you do that. If you want to increase your personal health and wellness, you hire a coach who can help you in that area. If you want to experience increase in your business, hire a coach who can help you get clarity and direction in that regard and then hold you accountable. Question 7 was, how well or how much did you save and invest? Question number 8, how many coaches do you have? And please don't say, well, I have my husband or my wife. I've told you all before that they are not qualified to be your coach. A good coach needs to be objective when it comes to you and your weaknesses, and a spouse or a close partner simply cannot be objective. They can be a sounding board. They can be a good partner. They just can't be your coach. I've said it before. They can also be very bad for your relationship. Don't do it. Get over yourselves, superstars. Hire a damn coach. I don't care if it's me or somebody else. Just start investing in yourself in that way. That's why it's tied to question 7, which was, how much or how well did you save or invest in yourself? Investing in yourself means hiring somebody to give you guidance, hold you accountable, share insights that maybe you can't see. We all have those areas. We can't see because it's us. We need somebody else to say, maybe you should look at it this way. Invaluable. The return on hiring a coach quite often is 10, 50, 100 times the investment. Question 8, how many coaches do you have? If the answer is 0, it's time to get one. Question 9, and this is tied closely to question 8, and it's this: how many people do you have around you that are smarter than you? Now, of course, the follow-up question to this is, does your ego allow you to take input from them? How many people, how many do you have around you that are smarter than you? This is a trick question in a way, because you would have to acknowledge that there are people around you that are smarter than you. That means you are keeping your ego in check. But if you look around and you go, nah, I'm the smartest one here, I'm the smartest. And this is, by the way, this plagues appraisers, because a lot of appraisers work alone. So they're not really surrounded by them. They say, well, I'm part of a Facebook group, really smart people in there. That's not being surrounded by. You aren't being influenced by those people. This question means, are you meeting with? I have a mastermind breakfast meeting every single Wednesday with really, really intelligent people, much smarter than me. And I always come away feeling smarter as a result. It's osmosis. It just rubs off on you. Their smart juice gets all over you and you leave and you go, wow, I am smarter as a result. Does your ego allow you to take input and feedback from people? Again, big one in the appraisal world. So many appraiser egos are outsized. They're way too big for the bodies that they exist in. Appraisers get paid to give their opinions, so they tend to think that the world actually cares what they think. The world does not care what you think, unless what you think in some way enhances their lives. And even then, you have to have some rapport with them for them to care about what you think. Who do you have around you that is smarter than you, and do you allow them to speak freely? Do you value their input in such a way that you might be willing to change a viewpoint or an opinion based on their input? Of course, this is where a good mastermind, a coach, a coaching group can be of real value. But if you're the type of person that doesn't allow it in, maybe 2023 is your year. Now, the last question for you in 2022. Did you have fun? I've talked about the acronym S.E.L.F before, S.E.L.F. Some of you may have heard it as E.L.F as well, the great Joe Polish. I use S.E.L.F because we're quite often self-employed, many of us. So if you're self-employed, this S.E.L.F, S-E-L-F, should stand for simple, effortless, lucrative, and fun. We are taught from an early age, from early on in life, that life is struggle. Business is hard. You've got to sweat and bleed to win. If you're not working hard, you're not working. You've got time to lean, you got time to clean. Whatever other nonsense has been crammed into our brains. The reality is that the word struggle essentially means effort laced with emotion. Effort laced with emotion. Something can be difficult or laborious and still be fun, as long as you don't lace it with negative emotion. The reality when it comes to business is that it can be effortless and it can be fun, while also being extremely lucrative. If it is none of those things for you, it's time to get out and try something else. Life is short, my friends. Time is our most valuable resource, and it can be over in an instant. There is simply zero reason to spend your most precious asset and resource doing things that are difficult, not lucrative, painful, and not enjoyable. I'm not telling you to quit your job. Just go sailing until you die, unless that's your path. It just means that it's time to start figuring out how you can turn what you're doing into something that is simple, effortless, lucrative, and fun. And if you simply can't do that, it might be a sign that it's time to do something else. Simple, effortless, lucrative, and fun. Happy New Year, my friends. Wishing you all the most happy, lucrative, and fun 2023 that it can possibly be. I will see you all on the flip side. Until then, I'm out.